Which gold ETF is the best gold ETF? The answer to that question, it depends. The three major ETFs for gold-focused investors in Australia are the GOLD ETF from ETF Securities, and the QAU ETF from BetaShares, and the PMGOLD ETF from the Perth Mint. It's important to understand that these three ETFs each do something slightly different to the other one. The gold ETF from ETF Securities is by far the most popular and most commonly held ETF for gold exposure. It is unhedged, meaning that it just moves with the US dollar price of gold, with the gold being physically backed and stored in a London vault. The QAU ETF hedges the currency risk. So this is an ETF that does something very similar, but instead of having an unhedged exposure to the US dollar or the price of gold, it hedges that into Australian dollars to cancel that out. Finally, the PMGOLD ETF is actually not physically backed at all. It just represents a right to buy gold from the Perth Mint. So it's actually a different type of structure inside the ETF. However, it moves mostly in line with the gold price. So all three gold ETFs provide somewhat of the similar exposure, but they do it in a different way. So it depends whether you want exposure to the true US dollar gold price, or you want that hedged back into Australian dollars to take out that currency risk, or if you're happy with lower fees and exposure to an ETF that provides the right to buy gold from the Perth Mint. All three of these ETFs can make up the core holding that people have in their portfolios for gold. Depending on your risk tolerance and your perspectives on gold, some investors choose to have 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, maybe even 15% of their portfolio in gold because it is a hedge against inflation and it is commonly seen as a safe haven asset. Again, that depends on your view of the asset class in general. However, it's important to remember that gold will perform differently to other asset classes in particular times. For example, when inflation is higher and interest rates are lower, or when interest rates are higher and inflation is falling. It's important that you understand the risks and the benefits of having an exposure to gold in your portfolio and compare the performance of gold over the long term against Australian shares, international shares, and also fixed interest, whether that's here in Australia or globally. So those are the three major gold ETFs in Australia. We've got GOLD from ETF Securities, QAU from BetaShares, and PMGOLD from the Perth Mint.